Hi everybody, welcome back to my kitchen. If you're new here, I'm Amy from Neurotic Mom Bakes, and I've done it. I have found the perfect brownie recipe. There's been a lot of trial and error, but I think I have it nailed down. If you love the fudgy, chewy centers with the barely crispy on the edges and corners, you're going to love this recipe. It's very easy to make. You don't need a mixer. You just need a bowl and a spoon and a whisk, and you are good to go. First thing you're going to want to do is get an 8x8 pan and line it with some parchment paper. I actually got 2 pieces of parchment, one to go that way and one to go this way. And you want the sides there because you're going to lift the brownies out. I've never successfully made brownies in just the pan with cooking spray where they didn't stick really bad. So this will prevent that. I am still going to spray very generously with cooking spray. So get your pan prepped. Get in the corners and set that aside. Okay, we're going to start with a ½ cup of unsalted butter. I tried salted, I didn't like it, it was too salty, so I switched to unsalted and made a whole bunch of difference. Melt this in the microwave, and while that's melting, I'm going to put 1 cup of sugar into my bowl and 1/4 cup of brown sugar and 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. There are a couple of tricks to getting the consistency just right so it will bake the right way. Same with the cooking temperatures. That was a little tricky to figure out, but I will explain everything. Let's check on my butter. All right, fully melted butter. Pour that in. And then I'm just gonna use a spoon and just kind of break the brown sugar down and let that hot butter dissolve the brown sugar and the sugar a little bit. All right, once you feel like that is fully incorporated, I'm gonna set this aside because I'm going to switch to a whisk, and I'm going to add 2 eggs. And 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Okay, I'm gonna start whisking this together. Don't skip over this next step, it's important. So I'm going to measure out a ½ cup of chocolate chips. I like milk, I prefer milk chocolate for this recipe. Measure out the ½ cup and then pour that ½ cup into a microwave safe bowl and melt this chocolate. I set the timer for 1 minute and I'm going to whisk this vigorously for the entire minute that is melting. You want to do this at least 60 seconds up to 120 seconds. So 1 to 2 minutes. You just want to whisk and kind of it'll turn paler in color and you're just kind of getting some air in there. See how it's increasing in volume a little bit because of the air, and it's getting really smooth. All that sugar is completely dissolved. So you definitely do not want to skip this step. All right, now take that fully melted chocolate and pour it in to your batter. Try to get all of that good stuff in there. And then just whisk it until it's fully mixed in. Just like that. Okay, you don't need your whisk anymore. And this next step is important as well. All right, you're going to want a spatula, and for the dry ingredients, I have a half a cup of all-purpose flour, half a cup of unsweetened cocoa. I like the Hershey's dark. It'll give a little richer chocolatey flavor, but the light cocoa will also work. Half a teaspoon of salt and a quarter of a teaspoon of baking powder. Now, important, do not over-mix this, okay? Dump this in, use a spatula and just fold gently around, fold over the top and through, around and through, and just keep turning your bowl. Okay, once it's just barely, stop right there. It's not fully mixed in, but we're getting there, okay? Now get your chocolate chips again. Measure out 1 cup. And, oh, my kids are gonna kill me, but you can add walnuts or pecans to this. I love nuts in my brownies. They hate them, but I'm gonna put them in, because then that means more for me. Okay, so at this stage, it's not quite mixed yet. Add your nuts if you want, and add about 3/4 of this cup of chocolate chips. Leave some to sprinkle on the top, okay? Now just finish barely folding this in together. Just kind of lift up the bottom. Make sure you got everything on the bottom, but do not stop right there. Do not over mix. Now we're ready to pour this in the pan. I'm just gonna get an offset spatula, works nicely, but you can use the back of a spoon and just spread it gently to the corners. Okay, now get the rest of your chocolate chips and just kind of sprinkle them over the top. So with the cocoa and then the melted chocolate chips inside and then the chocolate chips on top, it's so chocolatey and so good. Okay, I don't think I need all of them. Now, this was another trial and error process, but I have found the best way to bake these. Start in a 325-degree oven for 30 minutes. That's my oven, could be a little bit less for you, but I wouldn't go more than 30. At 30 minutes, increase it to 350 for 4 to 6 more minutes until it's done. It's going to be barely set in the middle, like when you shake it, it'll stop jiggling, and then a toothpick will come out slightly covered in some crumbs, okay? You don't want it to come out completely clean because that means that the edges are going to be overdone. It'll continue to cook in the pan, so if it's just a hair underdone in the middle with the toothpick coming out not quite clean, it's done. Okay. All right, I pulled these out of the oven a while ago and I've cooled them off completely. Make sure they're completely cooled off. And then you can see this just lifts right out. And then you can either cut them while they're on the parchment, or you can pull the parchment off. This corner's gone because I couldn't resist, and I had to try them while they were still warm, and they're delicious. But here's a trick to cut your brownies. They will cut more cleanly with a plastic knife. I don't know why, but they just will. See how it just doesn't, it's not as sharp, so that's a problem, but oh, that just cuts so nicely. Also, if they're completely cool, they will cut better. But in my opinion, some people like the cake-like brownies. a little fluffier. I just like a good, chewy, fudgy brownie. And I will show you the inside of this. That is perfect. You can see some of the nuts in there, the chocolate chips are still in there, but it's just crispy enough on the edges. You can serve them. My kids like to put ice cream on top with some whipped cream. I like them just plain as is. So thanks so much for being here today, and make sure to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content like this, and you can find me on Instagram at Neurotic Mom.